Vayigash, we have the emotional plea of Yehuda pleading with Yosef, who he doesn't know his real identity, still known as the viceroy of Mitzrayim. He says, look, this is the only son of the favorite wife, the one that Yaakov refers to as his only wife. Shnayim yalda li ishti. This is the only leftover son. The other one is dead. And this Binyamin is the only one. If you take this away, we go to our father without Binyamin, he will immediately die. And this is you read through it, it's a very, very emotional plea. And says the pasuk, V'lo yachol Yosef lit'apek. Yosef could not control himself anymore. He became overtaken by emotions. He wanted to cry, and he ends up basically asking people to leave. He bursts in tears, whereupon he basically introduces himself, reveals his true identity. Ani Yosef, Ha'od Avichai, and the rest is story that we know. That says the Meshech Chochmah, Rabbi Meir Simcha HaKohen Midovinsk. He writes, he says, well, the pasuk tells us he couldn't control himself. It means he wanted to control himself. He was not planning to reveal his identity just yet. So why did he? And what was his plan A, basically? What was l'chatchila? So it says, Rabbi Meir, he wanted to do exactly what his chalom was. He felt that the dreams he had decades earlier were chalom shel nevuah, were dreams of prophetic nature, and he wanted to make sure that they happened the way they were exactly given to him, for his father to come and bow to him, the way it had to be. So he writes at length what exactly the plan A was. But writes the Meshech Chochmah, the reason he didn't do it is not because he was overtaken by emotions necessarily, but because he couldn't do this in front of the Egyptians. You imagine the palace and all of the Egyptians are there, and Yosef is supposed to be the barometer, the compass of morality. Ish asher ruach Elokim bo. He was not just an advisor to Paro. He was not just the chief of finance, but he was considered the role model of the entire Egypt. And to respond to such emotional plea with a negative decline, it would be so far from a human being and how they have to conduct themselves, says the Meshech Chochmah, that would be considered a chilul Hashem. He had a plan, he had a divine plan. But when it came to in contrast with the presentation of him, a presentation of not just the Jewish faith, but a person that's a role model in the community, he said, this cannot be done. This is an absolute no-no to be so cruel and cold in front of all of the Egyptians, that he decided that this is the time that he's going to reveal his identity to them. It's something of a powerful nature. We have different halachot in the Gemara of when a person is allowed to bend certain things. Again, it's not free for all. There are halachot for it, but to deal with this as a concept that carries tremendous weight. It carries tremendous weight. The Rambam writes that the highest level of transgression is a transgression that brings with it chilul Hashem, brings with it a desecration of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name, where a person is expected to act a certain way, to act with sensitivity, to act with dignity, and he doesn't. That becomes one of the highest levels of transgression, because you are carrying the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in you, with you. It's being an ambassador of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in that way, which is a powerful lesson from Yosef in his planning and in his execution of the plans that he had. For all of us to learn from. Amen.